with a little basketball. And Mac and I count it our pleasure to carry you through this journey. We are ready to tip. Queens freshly minted into Division I. It became official in July, and now they tangle with UVA. First possession to the Hoos.
Both teams trying to bounce back from a loss.
Virginia, that first setback coming to close out the Greenbrier this past weekend at the hands of Butler. De Ridder from downtown, right away, picking up where he left off in that turn.
There's no question, this guy is one of the best in the country.
You mentioned, Ashby, here's the surrounding cast for Queens, the starting five for the Royals. Of course, you highlight Watford there too. Player of the year out of the Palmetto State is a big part of what they do. It's Parker taking the first look, and he draws contact underneath.
Yeah, Queens wants to get up and down the floor also. They want a big number of possessions. They'd like to get between 70 and 80 offensive possessions, and their offense is very unique, all based on reads. Whatever the defense does, you do something different.
Well, and what did Coach Grant Leonard tell us? The one thing we have to make sure of is Virginia doesn't have 48 to 50% second chances. We want to make sure we make it one and done on some of those trips down the floor. One was enough that time around. First point for Queens coming from the charity stripe and belongs to Parker.
And the Georgia Southern transfer, long arm.
You got to look at Grant Leonard there. You notice very festive head coach of the Queens Royals.
Yeah, there's some background to that turkey sweater, and we'll get into that later on.
Turkey sweater will give way to the Christmas sweaters soon enough, but he'll be easy to spot inside JPJ this afternoon.
You'll see Queens play good defense, but really trying to get in those gaps and stop dribble penetration.
Good movement for the Hoos. Thomas will try it from where De Ridder was successful. This one's off the mark. Battling to put it back. There were those second and third chances, but Queens still comes away with the basketball.
You'll see a lot of open middle for Queens. Nobody in the lane, allowing back cuts and drives. Virginia does something very similar.
Cleared away to the Hoos. Identical starting five for UVA, Coach.
Yeah, same ones. Hall and Thomas at the guards. Lewis at that small forward, and De Ridder. And, of course, the man in the middle, Grunlow.
And plenty of size in the interior for this Virginia squad. A lot of work being done from the perimeter, though, and here's more of it. How about Virginia? First couple of buckets coming from three-point land. Lewis this time around.
Yeah, Ryan Odom has almost an embarrassment of riches when it comes to people who can score the basketball.
Well, this team that is taking a lot more threes, the three-point attempts up from the pace and style a season ago. Who would have dreamed we would be talking about a Virginia basketball team with 80+ per contest? Both these teams come in averaging 80+, so you can expect it to be up and down the floor at times today.
Yeah, the players have adjusted quickly. I'm not sure about the fans yet.
Well, they got used to watching a certain brand and served them well, but I'll be pleased with what they've seen from this team through the first 6 contests.
Yeah, and we joke, but it really is an adjustment to what constitutes good basketball, and you can play good basketball a lot of different ways.
There's the first-year head coach of the Cavaliers. You know, he at one time in the Division II ranks was in the conference from whence Queens came. So there's familiarity between these two head coaches as well.
Sure. Lenore Ryan and Queens and I think it was SIAC. Coach Leonard was an assistant at that point in time. He's been with the Queens program quite a while.
And Ryan Odom, who's been a winner at every stop along the way. You know the basketball pedigree. His father, one of the best to do it in the ACC all time. From the corner, another three. It's Sam Lewis again. What a start for Virginia from beyond the arc.
Yeah, Queens went to the 1-3-1 zone. One place that's really vulnerable is in the corners, and Lewis made them pay again.
Well, you know the task when you enter a building like this in these early season non-conference contests. For a team like Queens, it's the need to hang around. Possessions like this will help. Nice put back from Mann. And he's an emerging player, Coach.
Yeah, the transfer from McNeese State. Of course, his brother plays right in town for the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, the Queen City connection is there. Let's look back at the Virginia possession a moment ago, the second of the Lewis threes.
Yeah, good ball movement out of a trap, quick ball reversal, inside out, all the things you want in a wide open three-point shot right there in one possession.
Yeah, and the sharing of the basketball, something you've talked a lot about. You see Grunlow do a very nice job there on the kick out.
This is a very unselfish team, as all of Ryan Odom's teams have been.
Oh, a nice stop and pop just over the top for Malik Thomas, who gets in the scorebook.
Queens wants to go fast, but Virginia's defense has been very solid in the half court. Gave up that offensive rebound that last time, though.
A lot of control here, and it's gathered up by Lewis,
who's always looking to push.
Now ran into too many of those Queens defenders there. All good. De Ridder right where he needed to be. Solid turnaround.
You know, sometimes you can run out of the double team, that's fine, but you cannot leave the best player on the floor unguarded.
Now, De Ridder, the thing you notice about him across the first handful of games, a guy who can score from anywhere, Coach.
He really can. So talented, strong, mature, and all that unselfish, despite the fact that he's averaging 17.5 points a game.
Such a huge part of what Virginia's been able to do in this opening sprint of the new campaign. Ashby, player of the year, tried to dump it off. Coach told you coming in, he's the A-Sun selection for the preseason player of the year. This is the other thing Virginia has done very well. Yet another block. Grunlow effective, showing you on both ends of the floor how good he can be.
Yeah.
That's back of the board. Quick start for the Hoos, much of it from beyond. Intentionally held back simply to provide a spark when he enters, and two on the floor grabs everybody's attention inside JPJ.
Yeah, and starting is one thing, but the minutes you play is the main thing, and he is earning more minutes all the time. Number 2 in the ACC in scoring among those who are not starting.
Mallory on the floor. Virginia off to a quick start from beyond the arc.
3 out of 5, while Queens is 0 for 4. Now, Queens has put a couple back in, but 4 second chance points. But Virginia hadn't missed enough to have many second shot opportunities so far.
Handful of new faces for Virginia alongside Mallory, who takes it down the left side. Now back out top. He goes with it. 3 working well for De Ridder. Everyone else for that matter right now. Yeah. He started it, and he has the latest.
Yeah, and Mallory made that play, driving into the lane, flattening out the defense, and found the best player at the top of the key wide open. 4 out of 6 now from 3. This is textbook stuff. Dribble to the lane, see the defense flatten out, and they can't get back in time to contest the shot from De Ridder.
Well, Mallory right into the game. Mallory right into the book in terms of an assist there, Coach. You talked about how well they share the basketball. You love the way he distributes it.
Yeah, and again, he just fits this style of play. He's outstanding at picking up full court pressure in the basketball. He can penetrate and create for others, but if you leave him open, he'll knock down that 3 himself.
A reset for Queens. 5 gone and a double-digit lead already in effect for UVA.
Jay Brulin now for Queens, coming off a big game, 16-7 against Furman.
Led the way against the Furman Paladins in that contest in Greenville, South Carolina. Here is De Ridder, and he jams it home.
Again, just beautiful sharing of the basketball. Lewis could have taken that all the way. Saw De Ridder running hard and hit that seam pass for a perfect layup.
Boy, working in unison, this Virginia squad out to an 18-5 sprint to begin things.
You talked about the efficiency there. You see it.
Parker just able to get that beyond the attempted block. No foul call, and the Hoos are back up the floor with it. Mallory with quick pace. Somehow cleared the basketball out of there. That gets caught. Change coming.
In the fast break, not a lot of room there, but a really nice pass. And De Ridder certainly knows how to finish.
Yeah, plenty of credit to Lewis, plenty of credit to the way this team has started with everyone a contributor to this point. Here comes Queens.
Yeah, De Ridder does all those other things too. Runs the floor, goes to the offensive glass, can guard multiple positions.
Well-rounded player. Experience beyond his years in terms of his classification because of all the international experience he brings to the table.
Yeah, that's a whole different level of freshman right there.
Yes, it is. Traveling violation that will stand as a turnover. When it comes to straight turnovers, Coach, this is a Queens team, their last couple of times out, really limiting the turnovers. He was very proud of the way his team protected the basketball of late.
Yeah, and Coach Leonard said that was going to be big here this afternoon, and it will be as the game goes on.
Now, we referenced that sweater. He told us his wife challenged his holiday spirit at one point. He had to go out and start gathering up the Christmas sweaters for use, and now he's added Thanksgiving to the equation. White tries a three, and that'll rim out. But he said from here the rest of the way, it's going to be Christmas sweaters following this Thanksgiving weekend. So
that's quite the answer to your wife's saying you didn't have a good holiday commitment.
Well, and it's caught on there in Charlotte because people are now sending him sweaters.
Exactly, and the staff is involved too.
They'll have a couple of games where everyone will be wearing one of those holiday sweaters, but it's become the trademark for Grant Leonard a handful of seasons in, and he's overseen the lift to Division I, and they did it the right way, Coach, kind of incrementally working their way into the Division I ranks.
Done outstanding, and of course last year got to play in postseason, and this year, like you mentioned at the top, picked to win the ASUN in their first year of NCAA eligibility.
Speaks to what's being built there in Charlotte, North Carolina. 3 to shoot. Corner had been kind to Virginia to this point. That connects with the rim and preserves the possession.
Yeah, the offensive rebound is something they've done better than anybody in the country.
Down to 4 again. This time the rebound away to the Royals. They'll try a corner three. Same result here. You said it. Gabriel was a guy who really came in, provided quite the energy they needed in a sprint back from behind against the Furman team that this Queen squad came up short against the last time out.
Yeah, missed some time early, but had the big game against Furman. It shoots nearly 50% from long range.
It's another of those guys not always in the starting unit, but much like we talked about with Mallory for Virginia, when he's on the floor, a difference maker.
Gabriel, he might be getting in that starting unit if he's playing so well.
Gathered up, but the pesky hands, speaking of Mallory, make the difference.
Yeah, blocking shots on Onyenso and Grunlow have both been outstanding.
Mallory will try one, hand in his face, doesn't matter.
No, that's what I mean. Really good skills. You watch him shoot the basketball, he's amazing. Of course, he scored like 1,000,000 points over at Stab right nearby.
Less than a mile away. What a journey. Whose story is being written. He'll try one. How about it? 9 with back-to-back games, at least carrying over from his last time out.
Yeah, the Canadian giving Coach Leonard a big lift.
Of Ontario, a guy who played in all 35 of them last season for Queens. Reason to believe that won't be the case again. And here's Mallory slicing through. Tillis gives it back Mallory's direction. Boy, how about this shot? Won't come away with a fruitful possession, but Virginia getting everybody involved. Here's Ashby. Haven't heard a lot from him so far. Tried to change it with the 3. Won't go.
Virginia's done a good job of locating Ashby, and he's got no open looks.
As a result, no points thus far for the team leader. Wholesale changes standing by. 3 Cavaliers, a couple of Royals waiting to come in, and well, the 3 proving kind on both ends of the floor here, and that's one of the main weapons for Queens as well, as you can see the use of Larson there.
Yeah, they love the 3. Gus Larson stepping out. All their bigs can step away from the basket and shoot it.
Well, trading them from one end of the floor to the other, and a guy you like a whole bunch.
Oh, Devin Tillis is so skilled, a winner from Cal Irvine. I think he's going to have a big impact. Has missed some early in the season with a little procedure, but is just now getting his game legs back under him.
Perfect touch on the other end as the teams trade buckets for now. Cavaliers built that early advantage, find themselves still out front. But only by 8 now, inside single digits all of a sudden. Mallory tried another long one.
Yeah, got a good look, created a little space. Mallory got a bad matchup right there with Yoav Berman.
Whistle before it worked its way to Berman. We'll go to break on the foul call. How about the 3-ball?
Yeah, it's such a great equalizer. You see Mallory on one end. On the other end, the big guy steps out. Larson. Back and forth we go, partner. Yeah, normally that's a 4-year probation period. They waived the last year for them, so they're eligible this year, but were able to play in postseason last year in the CBI. They were a really traditionally good Division II program, and they have just taken that and built on it, and Coach Leonard is a big, big part of why they're where they're at today, being picked to win the ASUN in their very first year of eligibility.
Spent some time in the South Atlantic Conference and in Conference Carolinas during their time in the Division II ranks, but you said it, the team coming in as the favorite in their first fully available postseason-wise campaign. All that experience in the ASUN tournament, making it the last couple of years, and certainly the postseason experience, as you said, Coach, tremendously valuable. Thomas slows it up. Why not? Rims out. Battle for it, and it'll be the Royals.
Queen's done a nice job of getting back against that fast break.
Somewhat out of control there, but Jabril maintained possession. Well, a timeout on the floor will take it as well. Virginia's still out front in the first half.
Talking about from the fans' perspective.
Now, we've established that while we weren't there in 1906, the first ever game played, a different basketball game back then.
Yeah, I was young back then.
30 points total scored by Virginia in a win over the Charlottesville YMCA. So certainly the game has changed, and the pace Virginia's playing has changed. It's to the liking of fans so far in a 5-1 start. Takeaway by Queens. What have you been impressed with by the Royals so far?
Well, they get back. They're battling on the boards. But also, that was the very first turnover for Virginia.
Coming with just over 7.5 remaining. And the Cavaliers answer with a basket to extend the lead a bit here.
Bruno had the body language going on that time. He was trying to will that thing in like a golfer correcting a slice.
Whatever it takes. Closing in on 7 minutes. And the lead just crawling back to double digits here. There's Watford, one of the talented freshmen on this roster, and he's going to get a chance for an and one.
Yeah, player of the year, high school player of the year from Lancaster, South Carolina.
He was on a state championship team that lost just one game all season. You see his skills here.
Yeah, the quickness. De Ridder's a good defender on the perimeter, but he wasn't quick enough to stay in front of Watford that time.
Watford had 14 the last time out on Sunday in that game against Furman in his home state. And he scored 13 of those 14 in the second half. So heated up down the stretch that go round.
Yeah, kind of about a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, and Big, long, 6'5" point guard.
Oh, and you get immediate playing time in that true freshman campaign. He'll grab some attention around the A-Sun and beyond. Now they are not letting Virginia run off and hide just yet, Coach.
No, battling on defense. They're athletic. They've got size. And they have a winning tradition in this program, like we've mentioned.
Berman, a foul collected out top.
Mallory back in.
As Mallory comes back into the contest, you're right. A little bit of a breather coming for Talon Hall. Boy, Mallory. He doesn't have to find the gear when he hits the floor. He's already in it, right?
Yeah, he's wide open all the time. And that time he was wide open for a three.
Worked out. Immediate impact. Working back into rhythm. And now Virginia, they've matched that total from that first ever contest back in 1906. 30 on the board for the Hoos, and they're up 11. They're trying to find some type of window, and it was denied by De Ridder. Queens attempted to go through all the big guys inside, and it rolls right off the rim. Mallory somehow gathers that up.
Haven't heard much from Thomas today. Second leading scorer for the Cavs.
De Ridder using his length, but he found the front of the iron. There's Lewis. He had a couple of big threes in the early going. Speaking of Thomas, ball in his hands. 5 to shoot as he windmills through there and draws contact.
Yeah. Again, baseline drive, kicking it back out, spot up, and De Ridder with the assist. Usually it's the other way around.
And that was Mallory with the bucket, seconds after he came back in to the contest a moment ago. Thomas to the line. You see his point total leading the way. Still looking for some here. Reminder, the third annual ACC SEC Men's Basketball Challenge happening next week. Tuesday's doubleheader, Oklahoma, Wake Forest. That's at 7. Then Georgia, Florida State. And Wednesday, BC hosts LSU, followed by Mississippi State, Georgia Tech. Both those games on the ACC network. You can also stream them on the ESPN app.
I think there's going to be some good matchups. Of course, last year, the SEC dominated the challenge, 14-2. I can almost guarantee you that's not going to be anywhere close to what it was a year ago.
Well, you think about what the SEC became at tournament time last year. And, of course, Florida, in the end, claiming the title for the Southeastern Conference. ACC looking to make some waves. Perhaps a statement next week. Going to be a lot of fun when those teams tangle. Now the three was going down at will early. Been a little tougher of late.
Tell you what, Virginia threw the ball ahead to Lewis, and that was some great defense by Chris Ashby. We talk about his shooting ability, but full court with a guy coming at you full speed, he was able to seal him off and stay in front of him and make Virginia take a longer shot later in the possession.
20 to work with as they inbound. Cavaliers still 42% from beyond the arc. We'll try and raise that. They will. Grunlow taking care of that piece of business.
What a weapon. Take the other team's center away from the basket. They generally are not good defenders out there. And Grunlow with a couple of threes here in the first half.
45% from beyond the arc for Virginia in real time. And how about holding Queens to 30 in that department right now? 30% from beyond the arc. One of the differences in this game is Virginia tries to pull away. Down the right side, and there's Thomas.
He can shoot, but he can score more than shoot. He knows how to get it in the basket.
Virginia out.
4 for 11, but 9 for 20. You wonder why they take twice as many threes as twos tonight.
You factor in the one free throw there to get to Virginia's total at this point.
Largest lead of the game at 17.
Well, as a result of a 9-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes. Virginia having built this advantage after Queens had kept it inside single digits a good portion of this first half.
Yeah, and they've done a nice job with that on the defensive end. They blocked some shots, gave one shot up only, and none of those second shots that Queens were getting early in the game. Throw in a couple turnovers, and you've got a 17-point lead.
4 and change remaining in the opening half. And that rolled right off the leg of Jabril. Now they're going to say actually the whistle and a foul there. So it looked like he lost it initially, but they are going to whistle Thomas for the foul.
Yeah. And speaking of turnovers, Queens has done a pretty good job. They only have 6, and Virginia only has the 1 still. 16 minutes into the first half.
Well, and speaking of 1, that is foul number 1 on Thomas, and nobody for Virginia has gathered more than 1 at this point. Good news for the Hoops. They're trying to make something happen.
Yeah, Mallory with really good defense. Forced Ashby to take a bad shot. Jabril with his first miss from long range.
Well, size wins out on the rebound, and then there's too much on the backside of that as Parker's whistled for 1. So nobody for Virginia with more than 1 whistle against them so far. Parker not in that category. He picks up his second for Queens. Lewis going to get a breather here.
Virginia with a little bigger lineup now. De Ridder and Grunlow, and now Tillis comes in at the 3 at 6'7".
How do you like this combination?
I like it a lot. A lot of matchup issues right here.
Plenty of window for Tillis. Why not? He'll join the three-point party.
See why I like that lineup?
Always like it a little better when it ends up on a trip like that. Virginia runs it out to 39-19, now up by 20.
It's a nice little screen to screener right there. Tillis with the wide open look at the top.
Taken right away from Berman. Mallory slammed on the brakes, and they worked it all the way around the top of the key, and eventually it's De Ridder taking it inside and drawing contact.
Yeah, and that's a great example of the diversity of De Ridder's skills. They make the extra pass, he's wide open, shot fake, and get it all the way to the rim, drawing the contact. You see where he's had a little bit of contact, a little bit of Greenbrier damage there, you see on his right eye.
It comes with the territory. He leads the way in this one. 10 points, looking for 11, but it'll have to be on the shot fourth standing when you talk about what the potential playoff scenarios hold.
So much to still be decided, and some of that will be decided right here. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah,
sure.
We'll get there. It's a big weekend for the Commonwealth Clash. Speaking of bigs, how about the work in the interior? It's Grunlow again, who waits and puts it back. Yeah,
8 points now, a couple threes, now a stick back. He's blocked a couple on the other end.
Despite the trip to the charity stripe a moment ago, De Ridder with 10, Grunlow with 8. That duo has been impressive. 18 of Virginia's 41.
Yeah, this is a really good basketball team. Still trying to find their way. Still learning a lot about themselves, what combinations work. I think the Greenbrier event, I think, gave them a lot of perspective. Got a win and a loss. They'd rather had 2 wins, but I think they learned a lot over there in Lewisburg.
No, the way they battled back in the Northwestern contest, the exact result they want. Didn't quite end up that way with Butler, ended up in some foul trouble and other things, but they were battle tested, and what the staff tell us, they learned so much about who they are, and it's in those experiences they build for the future.
Yeah, and that game went sort of just like they had in mind. The depth and intensity wore the other team down eventually, and they pull it out at the end. We appreciate Griff Aldridge spending a little time with us pregame, giving us some insight into what's going on with this team.
Always nice to get the perspective of the coaching staff, particularly a bounce-back moment like this. Well, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, ACC Huddle Crew. They'll be back here on the ACC Network and the all-new ESPN app. O'Hill, the location where you can find them, and Coach, great deal of anticipation surrounding the primetime matchup here in the Commonwealth tomorrow night.
Yeah, like we said, a whole lot to be decided.
who's, of course, looking to work their way into ACC championship opportunity. That doesn't even touch on the bragging rights that are on the line each time the Hoos and the Hokies get together. 2:14 remaining in this opening half.
De Ridder, I think, gets his second foul. May have to take a seat. Looks like.
Well, they're going to send Hall to the scorer's table.
Yep.
And he'll call for him.
And now the Hokies go with the Cavaliers. You got me thinking
you got
football.
that Commonwealth clash on your mind.
Yeah, we're talking football. The Cavs now go with a smaller lineup with Tillis at the 4 and 3 guards out there with Tillis and Onyenso.
Nothing but the twine as Larson drops that one through. He'll have another.
Or as Joe Dean used to say when the AD at LSU did a bunch of television back in the early SEC days, string music.
There it is. Couldn't duplicate it. So just the one on the front end takes Queens to the 20 threshold.
1-3-1 zone. Gave Virginia a different look in their second turnover.
Boy, how smooth was man down the lane that time, and he lays it in. He'll go to the line for more.
Now Mallory with the foul down low. Onyenso was trying to get the block up high, and man with the opportunity for a 3-point play.
Talked about the Charlotte connection with his brother Trey. Of course, is on the Hornets. He's coming off a 14-point effort is Nasir. The last time out was Mallory. We'll take a seat. Couple there. Just talked a moment ago about how the fouls were spread out equally for Virginia, and all of a sudden a couple picked up here and there.
Mallory joining De Ridder on the bench for the last couple minutes. Coach Leonard not happy with that foul, about 40 feet from the basket.
Well, and inside the final 2 minutes, Watford picking up one here now. They're going to send Isaiah Henry.
Another good-looking freshman, local product out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Henry working his way in there for Watford. It's White at the line.
Henry was a big-time scorer in high school. Jabril, I really like his game. It's like a great big 2-guard at 6'9".
Has it in his hands once more. Boy, weaves through. Still trying. A relentless effort from Jabril, and now Larson is going to earn the whistle.
Yeah, all down low to Onyenso. You got that shot blocker in there. You might defer to him.
He ends up going. It's Hall of first there. And a couple coming for Larson.
Larson's actually shooting better from 3 than he is from the free throw line, but he looked good on that one.
Well, Larson drops in his 5th point of the contest.
Started at Penn, ended up at Cal, and eventually Queens.
They're well traveled this day. Found Charlotte to be his current home. Minute 22 to play in the opening half.
Matchup zone has confused Virginia here for a moment.
Worked out for the Royals.
Back-to-back turnovers.
Good job to slice through. There's man again. A couple of possessions of late where he has been really impressive.
Yeah, he averages 14 and over 6. We hadn't seen much of that today, but you see the talent.
Well, certainly passes the eye test. We talked about the pedigree, basketball-wise, of his family. Pulls them a little closer here inside the final minute. Another one of those corner threes, and while it did not go down side of the backboard, there'll be a chance to get them another way.
You know that's my golden rule. Can't foul the jump shooter.
It's going to end up giving Tillis a major opportunity.
Here we were praising man, and he goes and commits a bad foul right there.
From one end of the floor to the other, how it can change. And here's Tillis now with a chance to really adjust things.
Yeah, he shot 82% last season at Cal Irvine from the free throw line. Of course, 40% from the three-point line, too.
Good on the first. Cavaliers with Gertrude standing by. You saw ready to come into the contest.
Gertrude, one of the few returnees on this team.
Into the contest in place of Malik Thomas. Now good on all three. Tillis true from the charity stripe. Takes the lead back to 20. Shot clock down to 7. An offensive board. And man, a little more time to work with than he thought maybe, but the bounce back so far, so good for UVA. Coaching staff telling us that this week you could see right away in Tuesday practice that there was a fire in this team. They'll try to carry that over into the second half.
Yeah, they love the competitiveness they came out with on Tuesday after a day off on Monday.
Thomas, see, tried to get it started here in the second half, but it rims out.
Nice execution. Got a wide open shot at the top.
Thomas with 5. He is 2 of 6 to this point in the contest.
And the size has really bothered Queen down low.
Schwieger, how about that? Schwieger from beyond the arc. Now here's a kid with some ACC connections. He's got a brother who is playing at Wake Forest. They were at Valpo together a year ago. He now at Queens in the state of North Carolina. His brother at Wake in the ACC.
Yeah, not a big factor in that first half, but you describe him as a stretch 4. That's what he does, to step out and shoot that 3.
And the first basket for Carson Schwieger.
And who else for the answer right there?
Yeah.
Thijs De Ridder says, okay, take away the 3, I'll get it to the rim and play through contact. Love this guy's game.
Not his first points of the contest. He's the guy, of course, who led the way in that first half for UVA. De Ridder already sitting at 14 as he goes to the line. Of course, think about it. De Ridder getting it started from downtown, and now doing good work from the interior here, showing you his tremendous versatility. 22 and a freshman, right?
Yeah, and the free throw line has been the one thing that has befuddled him so far, shooting about in the mid-60s. But boy, it's really picking at him to find fault with that, with the way he's done everything else.
Yeah, you're right. 2 of 5 from there today, but so much of the rest of his game true. Here's a look at the freshman. Jordan Watford puts that back. The South Carolina Player of the Year who took his talents across the state line to Queens.
Malik Thomas has not really gotten going. Only 2 for 6 from the field.
You look back at those 2 trips down the floor, they're 2 very different freshmen in college basketball, right? Both giving you a window into what they bring to the table.
Yeah, De Ridder with a ton and years of international experience. And then Watford coming straight out of Lancaster, South Carolina.
Well, just a little bit of touch needed there by Grunlow to finish it. The 2 bigs get it done for UVA.
Yeah, they combined for 20 points and 8 rebounds in that first half.
Everybody tangled up just below that Cavaliers logo. Watford down the bottom of the Sabres.
Yeah, Hall does so many little things. Some show up in the stat sheet like this assist, but some don't. He just has I think Coach Aldridge described it as a calming effect on this team.
Go back to Virginia, double-digit assists in the first half, and building on that already here.
Oh yeah, and that's who Ryan Odom is, and who his teams always will be. His former team with a big win today, with a victory over the in-state rival Virginia Tech Hokies, a solid win, led from start to finish. The VCU Rams did.
That team, he led the some championship glory, something that he's experienced at most of the stops along the way. You know, and we should mention is Mallory, of course, comes back in here, and that always grabs your attention. You know, Charlotte, not a bad location for Ryan Odom, right? The connection there, it was in Charlotte that he got that 16/1 that Virginia fans may not want to think too much about initially.
You know, we've avoided bringing that up.
But I'm going to put a positive spin on it for you. There's a positive spin on it. You know, Virginia used the motivation from that moment to win the national championship and enjoy it for a couple of seasons the very next year.
They're still enjoying it here in Charlottesville, as they should.
As they should. That served as a catalyst for what was Virginia's high water mark in the history of the program. And Ryan Odom now wearing the right colors, whose fans would tell you, when it comes to what he's done with Virginia in the first 6 games of his tenure. Going on 7 here and leading at 50-34 in early second half action. Down underneath, of course, bring that up because that happened, you know, in the Queen City. So much ACC basketball connections to Queens, and a lot of folks may have been wondering, well, where did the Royals come from? Right out of Charlotte to Charlottesville.
A good
on this
basketball
Black Friday.
town. You've got Queens, you've got Davidson, you've got Charlotte, the 49ers, you've got the Hornets, and of course many NCAA games there.
Now, much to enjoy, including that one we referenced, which will always stand as a positive ultimate outcome for UVA in the end. How about this feed? And De Ridder gathers it up beautifully to provide the touch at the end.
Yeah, another nice assist. Berman's a guy that has not gotten going for Queens. Solid player, returnee.
Well, there he is. You know, he's a guy, Tel Aviv. Talk about international experience. He's been on all the U teams, the Israeli U teams over the way. Another guy with plenty of international experience he brings to the table. Back up the floor as Virginia answered quickly. And in Berman's hands again, he'll try it from distance.
Yeah, Berman averages 14 and 4. Kind of plays like a big point forward.
Just enough touch there. Brunlow swats it away. Berman trying to find a shooting window, and how about this? Rainbows one home at the Horn.
All we had to do was mention him to get him going, huh?
Berman suddenly heating up, making his presence known inside JPJ. He's the leading scorer, right around 15 per game coming in. Experienced young sophomore. Mentioned he was on those Israeli teams under 14, 16, 18, and 20, his experience. Mallory lost the handle, but De Ridder was right there. Now, whistle and a foul. Here's that most recent 3-point basket for Queens.
Took out and got under good pressure. Shot clock going down. Berman. Bang.
Something special from a guy that was limited to 6 points, no rebounds, although he did have 3 assists his last time out. Trying to become a factor here in the second half. Seat and a breather for Nasir Mann. How about this from the corner?
Oh, good execution on the baseline out of bounds. Shot it in rhythm, did Jakari White.
Well, 5 of the last 5 for Virginia as they run their total to 57. Making the trips down the floor count are the Who's right now.
Ashby still can't get it going.
Tillis pulling down an impressive board. Just enough contact as Lewis tried to put it on the floor. Back to Charlottesville after the break. Virginia 57-39.
26 points, 8 rebounds, 4 for 4 from beyond the arc. They've done a little bit of everything. You think they have a chance to be all freshman ACC?
Well, and how good has that international connection, that pipeline been? This is the talent around the Atlantic Coast Conference in that vein.
Yeah, so many good freshmen, but it's hard to picture many playing better than these two. And of course, freshman takes on a whole different meaning when you add the international experience into it.
And De Ridder seems to be cruising toward making that 5 with 20 plus, the way things have gone for him so far. He's off the floor right now. Grunlow's still very much there, and it's Mallory who drives the baseline. Well, back out, but he'll take it. Mallory seemed to have one thing in mind.
Yeah, what great recognition, though. I've got a big guy on me. What should I do? Take it to the rim.
Big guy takes it back. Mallory will try a three, scores from within. Just as good from without.
5 points in 6 seconds. Is that good, partner?
Mallory, what did we say? Spark, lift, whatever terminology you want to use that he provides for Virginia. Take that snapshot of it. What a sequence for Mallory. And they found him a long way away from here, right?
Had to go a long way.
Just about a mile. Here's Man. White the rebound.
Yeah, Mallory with the block out. White was the beneficiary of the rebound.
You know, Ja'Cory White is the other guy alongside Mallory, whose praises we're singing in terms of bench scoring, that really finds himself up there on the doorstep of double digits in that department. Boy, relentless effort from Jibril.
Yeah, he's so good. I tell you what, it would be hard to keep him out of that lineup for Coach Leonard going very far.
Was the leading scorer the last time out against Furman, and he has 8 here in Charlottesville. Beautiful stroke from Sam Lewis. Had a couple of those in the first half that come to mind, but boy, that was a thing of beauty.
Oh, yeah. The Toledo transfer is a really fine score.
A rare turnover there, and substitutions coming. The Ridders coming in, among others. Here's that steal and the 3 from Mallory right after the made bucket a moment ago. Take us to break here, Coach. Chance Mallory, one of 4 alums from St. Anne's Belfield inside John Paul Jones Arena this afternoon. We mentioned what a distant journey it was for him to wear the colors of the Hoos.
How about this camera work? We hadn't seen anything like that. And less than a mile away, they found a player this talented. Committed early, decommitted, and then as soon as Coach Ryan Odom got the job, recommitted.
And Queens with a representative, St. Anne's, in this one as well, Coach.
Sure do. 3 for the Cavs.
See them on your screen. And a big day for that group from right here out of Charlottesville. And boy, what an addition the Charlottesville kid has been for this Virginia team. I mean, go back to that basket, steal, 3-pointer just a moment ago. Just a window in to what he's been for UVA.
Yeah, and they've got a freshman here playing a lot. A freshman playing a lot at St. Joe's, and another freshman at Queens.
Well, how about De Ridder just works his defender down and drops it through.
I'm running out of adjectives. Multi-talented, diverse skills.
Well, the numbers
experienced despite
now.
Being a freshman.
He's right on the doorstep of 20 again. 18 points for De Ridder. Now, the most amazing thing when you talk about De Ridder is how many different locations from which he seems comfortable with the basketball from a scoring standpoint.
Yeah, really anywhere. And defensively, very diverse too. He can get down and guard a perimeter player. He can block shots at the rim, and certainly physically he can battle a big guy on the block.
Now you see him talking with his head coach there. Ryan Odom called him over momentarily as he was patrolling the perimeter that time. After the foul call, going to have to give way with Cam Clark. Ashby working his way off as well as 1-and-1 in effect. Here's Tillis going to the line now.
Yeah, chance to get to double figures here off the bench. Virginia number 2 in the league in bench points.
And 1-1 knocks the first one down.
I think that may go up too, because Tillis just getting into game shape.
You know, what is it about Tillis that impresses you so much, Coach? And then we'll go from there to this entire bench for Virginia. They have so much to offer. The depth is incredible.
Yeah, his versatility is really impressive. I mean, you get him off the bench with a Jakari White and Devin Tillis, who was a really good scorer at UNC Irvine, a real winner, a leader kind of a guy. Chance Mallory, we've talked on and on about it. Onyenso. Then, I mean, we haven't even gotten down to Elijah Gertrude and Carrere. There's a lot of skill on this bench.
Getting very pleased with the depth that has been exhibited by this group. Obviously, Mallory getting so many of the headlines. But that surrounding cast you mentioned, tremendous. Here's a shot from the corner. And how about the job of just going straight down with it for White. Talk about tickling the twine a moment ago. That was his truest shot as we've seen, and it was somewhat contested.
Yeah, White kicked it out, and then Lewis, saw him step back in bounds and got it to him in the corner. Again, more unselfish play.
It's almost like they heard you on cue when you're talking about so many different individuals that are making their mark for this team. They showed you the diversity to that end. Another kick from Mallory. This time Lewis, he was comfortable right there, just inside the elbow.
Kept that head up, under control, on balance.
Virginia stretching it out now, a 12-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes of 74-41. Things beginning to go according to plan. You know, Queens won't go quietly. Schwieger, another of his threes. Couple of big baskets from beyond the arc today. Cavaliers 20-5 over the last near 5 minutes of action. And this is another one of those stretches where all the shots are going down, 3 of the last 3. And that'll make it 4-4. They've got a chance for more coming as De Ridder has an and-one opportunity ahead of him.
Yeah, and that's from the left corner all the way to the rim, over a 6'9" guy and through the contact. That is a basketball play. Meal, right?
Well, they got all the pieces of the meal. When you kind of begin to break it down, every part of the meal is there. And as you saw on those sweaters, it starts with the turkey.
Turkey, definitely the main course, and that would be Thijs De Ridder. You got to have some dressing like Malik Thomas, like you need a leading scorer. And then Johan Grunlow.
Well, you got to start with the turkey. Let's just let that sit just a moment.
I can't be rushing dinner.
You got De Ridder, who is already sitting here with 21, the latest of his 20-point performances. But you compliment him with the dressing. Who would that be?
That'd be Malik Thomas. You got to have dressing like you need a big score, and that is Malik Thomas.
But the dressing doesn't work quite as well unless you got the gravy.
Well,
right?
You got to have turkey and dressing and cover it with gravy, literally over the top of the turkey and dressing, and that would be Johan Grunlow, literally over the top.
Again, living up to it today when you consider what he's done in a 1-2 tandem with your aforementioned turkey. Now, you move on beyond kind of the turkey and dressing and gravy and you get to the sweet stuff. I know that's always some of our favorite parts.
Well, a couple things, but to start with the sweet potato casserole, becoming a go-to side dish, Ugonna Onyenso. He's becoming that go-to side dish for sure, coming off the bench.
All right. Thanksgiving's not Thanksgiving without finishing it up with that pumpkin pie.
And what is everyone's favorite? Pumpkin pie, right? So who is everyone's favorite out here? I'm going with Chance Mallory. Often everybody's favorite, and certainly right here in Charlottesville.
Yeah, the hometown kid, 11 again in this one. He's had some of the highlight moments along the way, and you select Mallory for the pumpkin pie. So Virginia, as documented there, every piece of the Thanksgiving feast
dressing,
on Coach
gravy,
Odom's team.
Sweet potato casserole, and end up with the pumpkin pie and Chase Mallory.
Well, looking like it's trending more and more as they close in on that 80-point threshold again. Like another one that's going to go the right way for the Hoos. A moment, however, for Nasir Mann, reminding everybody he's in the building with Queens. Mann with the slam.
got going late in the first half, and we hadn't heard much from him, but we heard that loud in career.
Remember, he's part of that Mann family making its mark on Charlotte, North Carolina. He and Queens closing in on 50, but the threshold for Virginia was 80. That's what the staff told us, right? You look at that 80-point threshold, you begin to think if they can get there, things are going to go well. That's been the case through the first 6. Next bucket will put Virginia on top of that 80-point threshold.
Just so many offensive skills out there.
Go back and take a look just a moment ago at the job Mann did to finish this.
Yeah, Lewis late on the chase, and Mann with the emphatic finish. Really impressive play by Nasir.
And Mann kind of quietly now, he's placed himself in the mid-teens. 14 points for Mann, including
right
that
on his
jam a
average.
moment ago.
Right on his scoring average, 13.9. He's number 4 in the ASUN in free throw percentage, number 2 in the ASUN in free throw attempts. And that's why he gets to the free throw line. He goes strong to the rim.
If you missed it when we talked about it earlier, that sweater, an answer to Coach Grant Leonard's wife's challenge that he wasn't festive enough. Now, that was related to Christmas. He started by wearing Christmas sweaters. It is now extended for the first time into the Thanksgiving holiday, and we give him credit. He wears it well.
Yeah, and there's some other holidays, but they don't fall during basketball season, like Independence Day or whatever.
Well, this is a great sports weekend. You got the Commonwealth Clash coming up tomorrow, so many of those football rivalries being decided as we speak. Just a lot of fun. You broke down the full meal that Virginia provides from a Thanksgiving standpoint. It really is, as you talk about what Virginia's been able to do through these first 6+ games now, it really is the well-rounded nature of this team that has made it tremendously successful. You look at it as a team that's got an opportunity to make a deep look this year.
It's a feast and could be a buffet.
If everything comes together for this team. You know, they were telling us prior to the game, Coach, look at this. How about Berman? Berman has had his moments in this second half. There's another as he has a second 3.
Yeah, don't remember anything he did in the first half. But second half, he's come to play, and he's a big contributor.
I thought the staff made a great point in talking with us prior to the game about this Virginia team, and it's true of a lot of teams around the country. You don't have, when you're putting together a new nucleus, that experience of what happened a year ago or some of the down times. That's being built as you speak for this Virginia squad. They'll only get stronger as it happens.
Yeah, exactly. These things are happening organically now, but they didn't have that coming in. And that's the challenge for all these new rosters with so many new players.
The Queens team with a number of players back here going to make their mark on the ASUN this year. There's a piece of the puzzle that you talked about a moment ago, Coach.
Becoming a go-to side dish.
Absolutely. What an addition. Nearly came away with a block there, maybe a piece. And here is that latest moment from Onyenso.
Pump fake, because he can shoot the 3, but he can also get to the rim in a hurry. Onyenso with the flush.
Matchup, what a weekend to be on grounds here in Charlottesville. Kid from Charlottesville, Mallory with it. He goes back to work for UVA, and that's touched and out of bounds off of Queens.
Virginia's done a lot of impressive things. 22 assists on 29 field goals will make Ryan Odom and his coaching staff very happy.
Yeah.
And of course, they've slowed down the 3-point barrage from the first half, but still shooting almost 50% from beyond the arc.
You think about the Commonwealth Clash, the history of these athletic programs. You see Coach Odom there. You got to remember his history. He's a guy who learned how to play basketball on the floor at U-Hall. His dad, an assistant to Coach Holland, and he literally learned the game on the floor right here on grounds.
Yeah, what a staff. Dave Odom, Craig Littlepage, Jim Larinaga, and on and on.
As part of that Ralph Sampson era that so many harken back to, and you know, his coaching pedigree as good as they come when you talk about Dave Odom for a dad, and the background that's there. How about this? Swatted away. Defense having its moments to go alongside this offensive explosion. Coach Dave Odom, one of the few guys, ACC and SEC Coach of the Year along the way. Just impressive background. Here's that block again.
Leaving your man, coming across. Well, a lot of times you don't block the guy your garden shot. You block someone else's shot.
Cavaliers have accumulated 7 of those in the contest today. 7 blocks for UVA. Another strength of Coach Odom's team.
You talk about Dave Odom. I met Dave Odom when he was the coach at Durham High School. We signed 3 of his players way back in the day. A really nice move, my man again.
Well, you know, he left here to take the Wake job. 89-01, had some of the great players in the history of the sport. 3-time ACC Coach of the Year. 2 tourney titles in the Atlantic Coast Conference, the 95 sweep of the regular season and the tourney, and then won it again in 96, and of course finished up at South Carolina, ACC and SEC Coach of the Year, as we mentioned. One of the best to ever do it, and Ryan Odom following right in his footsteps. And Coach Odom told us once, Dave Odom that is, he said, you know, he's got a lot of the basketball stuff in there that hopefully we imparted to him, but he said he's got the personality of his mom, which is a good thing. He said, I wasn't able to stay even kill over there, but he stays even kill over there. And you see that in Ryan Odom, and his team has really responded, Coach.
Yeah, no question. I think Dave is right about Lynn, too.
No doubt about it. One of the great families in college basketball, and I know Virginia fans happy to have Ryan Odom on that sideline. Looking for what would be a 6th win in the first 7 contests. Now 5.5 away from it. What has impressed you from Virginia so far in this one today?
Well, we hit it from the top, and I mentioned it just a minute ago. The sharing of the basketball, 22 assists, 29 field goals. That's a great ratio, and the fact that you share the basketball, but you also have people who can put the ball in the basket. So I mean, they can go 10 deep with legitimate people, a threat to score 20 or more.
Isaiah Henry knocks one down and gives us a chance to tell you the 3rd annual ACC-SEC Women's Basketball Challenge. Also coming up Wednesday, Auburn squaring off against Syracuse. That's 5 Eastern. And then Thursday night, SMU Arkansas. That's at 7 on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Big week of college basketball here. Of course, yesterday, national champs went down to TCU. North Carolina fell. That Michigan State team having their say. Duke had their hands full with Arkansas last night. It has been an impressive college basketball week already, and the week to come with the ACC-SEC Challenge is going to be even more special. And Thomas hard to the floor. But back up to his feet, everybody catch your breath. And just how enjoyable will those ACC, SEC games be? Look at this lineup.
Love it. Yeah, you want to see the best go head-to-head, and we're going to see a lot of good contests. Gosh, national championships against Duke, rematch back there, and North Carolina, Kentucky, 2 of the literal blue bloods, Louisville and Arkansas. Saw a little bit of that last night. Cal's got a good group out there, and goodness gracious, how good is Louisville off to such a good start. Virginia and Texas will be good, and Will Wade against the youngster Stephen Pearl.
And all those games loaded up for you on the ESPN family of networks. Of course, Duke answering back last night in Chicago. That ended up being a major moment. You know, found an interesting note out of that game. Undefeated to Thanksgiving. I think each of the last 8 or 9 NCAA champions undefeated to Thanksgiving. That's something to keep an eye on as we go through the remainder of the college basketball season. Of course, Florida trying to defend their title, and the ACC looking to snatch it back from one of those you just saw on your screen. Berman fighting for it, and coming away out of the fray with the basketball is Lewis. Under 4.5 to play, Virginia having held Queens at arm's length in this second half. But this is a Queens team going to make its mark on the ASUN, as they're the preseason favorites in that league, new to D1. A Virginia team, no doubt in a position to do so in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Here's a foul underneath. Berman was trying to get his hands on the basketball, and he'll depart. Jabriel coming back in his stead.
Yeah, even with the big lead here, just 4 minutes left in the game, everybody from Virginia touched the ball on that possession. Of course, Grunlow had to get it himself. They didn't throw it to him, but but all 5 of them touched the ball on that possession. That's impressive.
All's well that ends well for Grunlow. He'll knock down the free throw to begin it. We're talking ACC just a moment ago. What's impressed you so far as you look around the league, Coach?
Well, I think the league is much improved, you know, particularly on the men's side. NC State's gotten off to a good start, even though they had a couple of losses lately. Louisville looks really good. Obviously, Boozer and Caleb Wilson has Tobacco Road talking. Wake Forest missed out on a couple of big chances to win big games, but then came back and won one with Colvin off the bench, the leading scorer off the bench in the league.
Sure. Made
a game-winning shot, and I think the league is going to be good. Virginia Tech got off to a good start. They've hit a little bit of a lull now. Of course, they played the last 2 games without one of their better players, Toby Lawal. But again, I think the men's side has greatly improved, and I'm really interested in the SEC-ACC challenge.
Now, for a long time, the ACC considered best basketball league in the country, and there wasn't a lot of discussion. But with the headlines the SEC snatched away a year ago, that makes this ACC-SEC challenge all the more impressive. Well, speaking of impressive, the three-point shooting in this one for Virginia falls in that category. White has the latest, and the Hoos have posted 90.
Yeah, and all these things are cyclical. You know, fans act like, okay, the SEC is the very best, or the ACC is the very best. All these things go in cycles. Even as young as you are, you've seen cycles go through all the sports.
Here a moment ago, you were accusing me of being there for the 1906 contest. Now you go that way. Going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure, with what's ahead. Things going well for Virginia thus far on Thanksgiving weekend. Averaging in the mid-80s. They will eclipse 90 in this, the 7th game of the new college basketball season for Virginia. Parker to the line on the backside. Look at that 90-point total. Going to raise the overall average, Coach, for a team that's scoring it a lot differently, shall we say, than in recent years.
Yeah, a lot differently, a lot more, and just a totally different style of play. And you know, all these things, the pack line and the mover blocker under Tony Bennett, that was an acquired taste. And of course, when you win a national championship, everything tastes pretty good.
Yep.
Continuing the Thanksgiving theme.
There is one hanging in the rafters they will treasure for all time as a result of that. It is certainly a different style now, and Virginia playing it well through the first 7. 6 in double figures today. As well for UVA. That's always something you watch.
I think the fans are going to enjoy this team. I think they're going to enjoy this style of play, and this team's going to get better and better. We talked about they didn't have any points coming back from last year. All this is new, and like Coach Griff Aldridge said, we didn't have any experiences to draw upon where you could say, remember back when, and their remember back when is the 4th of November when they started this thing, and I think that's going to serve them well going forward. You're going to see improvement of this team. Great basketball is not being played. There have been some great games. There have been some great performances, but consistently great basketball is not being played. But as you get into January and February, you're going to see some teams separate themselves.
Virginia's certainly one of those teams capable of doing so. And you saw a snapshot of that coaching staff over there, still looking for every small turn of the knob, every small angle to try to make sure this team improves to its highest capability. 2 and change remaining. Mentioned 6 in double figures, led by De Ridder with 21 in this one. And here's Mallory. He's one of those, looking for more, but it rims out.
Trying to block out Grunlow down low. Virginia's going to maintain possession on the baseline. No, they're going to go to the free throw line. Grunlow with 11 and 8 so far, going back to the free throw line.
Grunlow with 11, Mallory with 11. A lot of guys with 11. Also true for White and Tillis. And then, of course, the 15 for Lewis and the 21 I mentioned for De Ridder. Those the 6 for the Hoos in double figures this afternoon. Brownlow good from the charity stripe. And he will give way. Carter Lang into the contest for UVA now. Chance to provide some playing time a little deeper on that Virginia bench.
Vandy transfer and local native. Watford's going to be a good player for this Queens team.
Just getting going, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. You can see flashes of brilliance, and gosh, 6'5", very athletic.
He's right there with 8. He's looking to become the 3rd in double figures for Queens. Man with 18, Berman with 10. Something else to cheer about as we come down the stretch here with just over 90 to play and well over 90 on the scoreboard.
Killis now with 13.
A nice shot from the corner. Mentioned the ACC connection from Swigger. He's got a brother at Wake, where we talked about it a moment ago. Coach Dave Odom's name hangs in the rafters. But this one trending toward the latest win for Coach Ryan Odom. You know, it's somewhat remarkable to look at it when you think about all the extended basketball history of Virginia, that he was the first to go 5-0 to start his career as the new head coach.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And of course, in connection with the Wake deal, sad to see Rodney Rogers passing away at age 54.
Boy, what teams he was on.
Great players. Coached against him a couple times, once in the NCAA against Coach Odom.
Yeah, those all our thoughts and prayers continue to go out to Rodney Rogers' family and friends. Another of those guys left his mark on the ACC and beyond. Good move to the basket there. Watford, you know, he's taking advantage of every minute inside JPJ here these last seconds.
Changed hands, found the opening, got it over the rim. Got to that double figure mark for you.
Lang, well, they'll enjoy this if he can finish, just a little short. Henry, a little too strong, and the putback was turned aside. Virginia running that block total a little higher, and look who got this one.
Owen Odom off the bench.
So many of those blocks coming from the expected, the usual suspects, but in this case, Owen Odom coming away with the block inside the final minute. 8 of those for Virginia if you're trying to keep tally in the blocks department today.
Yeah, the bench was up in support of that block.
Carrere there filling up your screen. You know, the three-point shooting we documented earlier, one of the trademarks of this team. Well, you're kind of closing in on double-digit blocks today. A reminder that that's becoming one of the main weapons for Virginia as well.
Nation's leader. Offensive rebounds, block shots. These are new to the Virginia faithful.
They come with the pace of play. That's a different wrinkle moving forward. All works out to the tune of what looks to be a 94-69 final with the shot clock off. Virginia will dribble it out. Impressive bounce back after the long setback thus far of the Ryan Odom era. His team comes away with a big victory over Queens. Sizable victory, that is, on the scoreboard.
Yeah, you just never know how teams are going to respond. The